Whoa, what's up, guys? I think I'm live, Lucas. What's up, face webs and tubes of you and of LinkedIn? What's up, guys? I'm Matt Latham, Board Certified Master Arborist and Registered Consulting Arborist. And this is Ask an Arborist live stream. We're coming at you live from Houston, Texas. We're basically just going to take a look at all these beautiful photos and pictures and tree questions you've got. And let's see if we can help y'all out a little bit. So I was talking with Lucas. It sounds like Dustin, I think Justin was our first one. Now, before we get into it, let me know if you know, I just don't forget me. I never do, buddy. I'm getting a text from Ivan. And hopefully you're on here. You said you were interested in showing up to this live stream, Ivan, but hopefully you're here. I didn't forget you, buddy. It's just I've been slammed. So I'm going back through here. Let me let y'all see what I'm seeing. By the way, just so you know, I'm Matt Latham, Board Certified Master Arborist and Registered Consulting Arborist. There's about 100 to 120, depending on when you ask, people with both of those credentials. So I like to think I know what I'm talking about. There I am. Look at me. Hey, that was... we've been growing faster than a mosquito infestation after a rainstorm in Houston, and it's rainstorming again today. So we're about to get that wave of all the mosquitoes. And y'all, we grew by over 100. We were 664 last week when we did this live stream. Now we're at 777. You can see this beautiful number here. Y'all, this is really just an honor and a pleasure for me to be a part of this community with you guys. And just can't thank y'all enough for all the great questions you ask, and hopefully I've been a great source of great, good, solid tree care information, because quite frankly, the world needs a little bit more of it. We have been doing some tweaks on this page because quite frankly, it's getting out of hand, y'all. 100 people per week, that's wild. And thank y'all again so much for the growth and for being a part of this community. But we've seen a lot of all the crazy robots and AI critters coming after us, and it's gotten just absolutely crazy. And so we've had to put some like filters and parameters on there and things like that. And, you know, it's just gotten to a point where we're getting too popular for our own good. And that's a great thing. You know, like I said, this is meant to be a great resource for you guys to come on here and get good, solid tree care information, because quite frankly, the trees we have are valuable to us and they're awesome. And we live around them, we love them, we live under them. But when they're a threat to us, that's a problem. That's a very, very big problem. So we want to make sure that our trees are growing in the right direction, that they're healthy and thriving. Now, here's what I've learned. 22 years, sorry, that's June 26th. 22 years climbing and caring for trees professionally is how long I've been doing this. And man, it's been a great career. I am surprised that I'm still alive. I'm not even going to lie. Some of the stupid things that we've done over the years. But by the grace of God and a little bit of safety and PPE, personal protective equipment, I have made it to a point where I can come and share the knowledge that I have with you guys. So thank y'all again for being a part of this group. And we're just honored to have y'all here with us. So let's get right into it. This is Dustin Kessler asks, a solid 1/3 of our cherry plum tree. By the way, it's from John Brown University. I don't know where that is. Sorry, Dustin. A solid 1/3 of our cherry plum tree just randomly fell down. No strong winds, no excessive rain. Just decided they'd take a grass nap. Is there anything to be done at this point, or is the tree on its way out? Well, you've got what's called a multi-stem tree, Dustin. And essentially what's happened is you've got multiple different trees that have all grown together. Here's the problem, is in between, you can see right here, in between those trees, there's not a lot of space for the roots to grow. So what happens is you get a really, really weak structure. Now, add to that excess moisture in the soil, and it looks like you may even have some fungal decay because of that. Also, the root flares are buried. Y'all are going to hear me like a broken record say that over and over and over again. Anytime you got the root flares buried in soil, mulch, compost, it doesn't matter. That's always, or even like Asian jasmine, y'all, that's always going to present a risk and a problem. And so you want to make sure to get those root flares unburied, because that's going to be really important towards the overall health and well-being of your tree. So Dustin, you got a big problem where all of those have gone away. I think you mentioned a grass nap on one side of it. I love that. But is it on its way out? Well, you've got a really weak structure to begin with. Here's what I would do in a perfect world. And I'll just give you a little drawing here. Let me full screen it real quick. Okay, so you've got, let's say you've got, this is the top down view. You got 4 or 5, I couldn't tell, different stems growing out of the soil, different trunks. What you want to do is you want to solidly cable those together, and you go about 2/3 from where the potential failure point is. And so the obviously the ground is where the potential failure point is what you're experiencing. So you want to go 2/3 up the tree from that point. You want to cable all those stems together. That's going to be really the only thing that can save that tree. Unfortunately, whenever you get multi-stem trees, they're beautiful. They have really cool aesthetics and they add a lot to a landscape. But unfortunately, it's a very, very, very weak structure. And so anytime you've got that in the middle there, you get all kinds of decay and there's no room for the roots to grow. And whenever you have no roots, you've got no trees. So anyways, hope that helps, Dustin. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but if you want, you probably can pull that limb back upright, cable all of them together, but you may be looking at a few $1,000s. And is it worth it? I don't know. That's up to you, man. That's going to be a decision you make. It's cost to benefit ratio. Honestly, you may be better off because it's a young tree planting something new with just one stem this time. That'll be a much stronger structure. So hope that helps. And we're moving on. Anonymous asks, I have a Chinese pistache or pistachio that was green, and within 2 weeks it started to look like this. Is there anyone who could recommend anything to use on it to help it? My second tree is starting to look like this at the tips also. All right, so I'm just going to be real frank with you. You got a poorly planted tree, and it's probably holding water in the root system here. Let's go ahead and take a little closer look. You got some fungal evidence here, clearly. Those are those little splotches here and here and all over. Yeah, you're watering way too much, and that soil just needs to dry out. We call it the teacup effect. So anytime you've got a newly planted tree, y'all, this is just a general rule, and it's just a quick reference guide for me as a professional and for you guys as well. But anytime you've got a brand new tree and it starts doing crazy stuff like what you're seeing here with Anonymous's tree, generally speaking, it's going to be water. Too much, too little drainage. Sometimes it has nothing to do with the right amount of water. It's just not getting out. Here's what most guys do. They got a tree, they got a hole. The hole is about the same size as the root ball. Now, what happens when those roots get to the edge of it? They've grown up in this nice, fluffy, perfect, ideal condition in a container-grown tree, and they got all this lovely compost in there. Great stuff if you're a tree. And then you stick them in your clay soil. Now, all of a sudden, they got these hard, packed clay on the edges that they just can't break through. Here's the rule. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm doing this wrong. Woo, there I am. Here's the rule. 200 PSI or greater, and your roots can't break through. And so what happens is we call it the teacup effect, is water will basically pool in this area. Now, if you remember back to like 8th grade diffusion and 8th grade science, we learned about diffusion and osmosis. Maybe it was 6, maybe it was 12. I don't know. But, we learned about diffusion and osmosis. And what that says is water wants to go from high pressure to low pressure. So you got this existing soil, high pressure. I'm going to write that down. You got this brand new, beautiful tree that grew up in a nursery in ideal conditions, and you got low pressure. So what happens? Water wants to go from high pressure to low pressure. And so what will happen, we call it the teacup effect, that water will pool in that area. And I think that's what's going on is you basically, the soil's not able to move that water. And so your roots are drowning. That's all there is to it. Let me give you a couple of little reference guides here. I'm going to go into my YouTube page here. Let's just see y'all see what I'm doing here. All right, we got, if my internet will load. I'll close that out. Maybe we'll get, By the way, if y'all haven't joined us yet, we'd love to have you on our YouTube page. We are growing like crazy there too. Not quite as fast as we are here on the Ask an Arborist group, but we'd love to have y'all come join us as subscribers. What I'm learning is my people on YouTube are very, very loyal, and they are just asking really great questions there as well. So I'm going to give you a couple links here. Anonymous, I think your name was. Yeah. Hello. I'm gonna pull these up. Should I pull these up, Lucas? I think that's gonna be a good idea because these are like some of the ones that I most often recommend. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Lucas brought up a good point, y'all. We can actually make some playlists that might help y'all. So we could just point you right to that with one page. But let me go ahead and link this here for you, Anonymous. Hopefully that's going to help. By the way, just so y'all know too, Lucas is on the back end. He's in my ear here. And he is just a wonderful, wonderful help. He's always great about putting the timestamps of all these videos that we're doing. So, and he makes sure to tag you in it as well. So if you missed the live stream, that's okay. We'd rather have you here, obviously, with us hanging out and having a good time and just learning about trees together. But if you can't make it, that's okay too. And we'd love to have you just come back and watch this video. We timestamp each and every one of them because we think that's really important that you're able to see this as well, even if you can't make it to our live stream. So there's a couple resources for you. Hope that helps, Anonymous. But what you've got is water pooling in there. You got a very poorly planted tree. You got to get rid of those bricks. You got to do that radial trenching in this video. New tree struggling to thrive. There's an extra S in there. Might be the answer. A little clickbait for you guys. All right, we're moving on. Brian asks, I'm new to this group. I recently joined because I have a birch. Wow, look at that across the pond. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I read that. It is UK. Kingdom is what I read. Kingston. All right. Well, awesome, man. Great to have you. Our neighbors here in Canada, don't you know? He's got this birch that he's trying to save. Main trunk started dying 2 years ago. It was cut, unaliving for all those algorithms out there. Now it looks like it wants to live. Good question. One, can I cut this smaller branch on the left to help it continue upwards? And two, yellow ends on the leaves are starting again, which is how the main trunk unalived. Is there anything I could do, or is this a write-off? I would be willing to bet money, Brian. You've got a similar situation with the poor planting. I can't really see it. Those leaves are blocking me here. On your Galaxy S20. If you can give me a closer up picture of that, the root flares right at the base of the tree with those leaves not blocking it, that would help. Okay, so he's saying it started growing yellow. Now, river birches do really well in Canada. Oh, there we go. Never mind, you're good. Yeah, planted too deep. You've got a poorly planted tree, and you probably got the similar stuff that we were talking back on Anonymous's post here, where you got water pooling in there. It looks like maybe it was planted too deep, and I see maybe some water back there, so that's not going to help. But later on, that birch is going to love that water. So great positioning, great choice for a tree. We just got to get that corrected a little bit. So I'll send you the link on these two videos as well. You want to make sure to be proactive about the water. Don't do too much. Don't do too little. The main thing is you want your soil to dry out prior to re-irrigating. That is very, very, very important. Even on a newly planted tree, it does need a little bit more, but you still want it to dry out. And I'll give you a perfect example. Is we had this here moon tree that we were taking care of. I got called into, this is a really cool project, by the way. Let's type in moon tree. So I got called into NASA Johnson Space Center. I'm down here in Houston, by the way, y'all. And they wanted to, they've got this moon tree. Now, I don't know if y'all know about the moon tree project. Basically, in 1979, there was a scientist. He took all these, he wanted to see what's the effects of no gravity on germination, trees growing. And so he basically took these trees, he flew them around the moon and then back down to Earth, and then we stuck them in the ground to see what happened. And basically, there were about 1,000 of them. Today, out of those 1,000 that grew and thrived, there's only about 60 or 70. So they started getting nervous, and they're saying, well, how do we keep this going? We don't really want to spend billions sending more plants up around the moon. But what they did is they took seeds and saplings and cuttings from those original 1,000 or 60 now, and they started regrowing them. They started replicating them. So fortunately, trees are like ultimate survivors. And so I'll give you this post here. This was a really, really cool project. And basically, we had a tree that was unaliving, and this is like one out of a handful. And so we were able to, basically what we found was that it was basically just being flooded, and they were watering it every single day. And as a result, the tree was unaliving. And so they called me like, SOS, help, save our SOT, I guess, save our tree. And we came in there, basically, we just saw that it was too much irrigation. It was pooling. The water or the soil around the roots was completely saturated no matter when I stopped in to take a look at it. And we basically just told them, stop watering. And the trees are thriving. Now, I did do a few things treatment-wise with some humates and molasses, and just gave it a little steroid boost too. And so we're watching this thing grow and thrive. Let me show you the next one, actually, because after we cut off the bleeding, stop the bleeding, this tree just blew up, and it's green and healthy and thriving, and it's exciting. So thank y'all for being a part of this journey, and seeing some of the cool things that we're doing here, because this is part of it, is learning together and seeing how essentially, like, just doing a few small things really makes a big difference whether your tree makes it or not. So that's what I'm here for. By the way, another thing I want to talk about too is that we do have a company. It's called Arborist on Demand. And what we do is we essentially do this, is we get online on a Zoom chat or on a GoToMeeting, something like that. And we do a video chat, and we just look at your tree and figure out what exactly is going on with it. And so that's a service that we offer. Think of it like telemedicine for trees. And what I've found is basically 95% of the time, we're able to really get down to the nitty gritty and figure out exactly what's going on with your tree just on a simple digital consultation like that. And so just check that out and see if you have further questions or want a little bit more details about your trees. Feel free to hit us up on the web at arboristondemand.com, and we'd be happy to jump on a Zoom chat with you and do a digital arborist consultation. Like I said, there's about 100 guys like me all over the US, or excuse me, all over the world. And we make this to where guys like me who know what we're talking about are available to guys like you and gals like you that need help with your trees. So moving on. Summer asks, in Manhattan, cool. Can someone please tell me what's wrong with my oaks? They have just started to do this in the past couple of months and continuously getting worse. I'm afraid they're going to unalive. Is this something I can treat with fungicide? Thank you in advance. Well, that's a great question, because I do not have a lot to go off of here. But I will say this summer is that looks like some bugs are chewing on that. It could be herbicide from the kind of cupping and curling. Sometimes you'll see that with herbicide damage, but to me, it looks like you got some critters chewing on that. A little bit of fungus maybe, but I don't think that's the major problem. I think you got a stressed tree. It's going to be the big problem. This is what the trunk looks like. If it has anything to do with it. I think you got a white oak. Maybe. Yeah, it looks like some sort of white oak to me. No, the lichen is totally normal. That is like 100. That's a good sign, actually. Unless you live in an area with like a really toxic air, like I do here in Texas, in Houston, Texas. Because we got all the industry here, and they call it the cancer belt where I'm from. I think is that's the nickname for it. So I think you got a white oak. Maybe a red oak, but it looks like a white oak with the rounded lobes and all that. And yeah, that to me looks like a stress tree combined with a little bit of bug damage. So you can spray some neem oil on there. I'm working on, by the way, y'all, I've got a new product that I've really been just enthralled with. It's called MicroLife. And MicroLife is a wonderful company. They are, the owner, Mike, is just super passionate about making the world a better place. And he's got all these really cool liquid organic fertilizers and such. What I'm going to recommend is maybe try some of this Humates Plus. And you can purchase it. I'm working on, I thought we'd have the web store up and ready to rock and roll so I could just give you guys a link, but it's not there yet. So that's part of Me being a tree guy in a tech world, I'm not a tech guy, but thank God for Lucas because he's here helping support me, and we're working on getting that up. Hopefully, we'll have that for you next week. But try that Microlife, the Humates Plus, and you might want to add some molasses to it as well. But mix in there. I'm just going to write the name of it: neem oil, and that should control the bugs and suppress some of the fungus as well. So hope that helps, Summer. Sorry you're dealing with that, and we are moving on. All right, Laura asks, help with my Techni arborvitae, please. I don't know what a Techni arborvitae is, but I can deal with arborvitae. By the way, I don't even know. Is that how you pronounce that, you guys? I've been doing this 22 years. I still don't know. I just read it in books and stuff, and nobody's corrected me. So I've tried to do some research that said that these are seed pods, and it indicates a healthy tree, but you can see the branches are so heavy and the pods are nowhere close to turning brown or falling off. Is this normal? I planted this 1.5 years ago. I did not do this last summer. Anyone have any ideas? Yes! I got so many ideas. You can trim out the unalived branches. Yes, you certainly can. Anything that's not living is completely separated from the tree. Anything, anytime, by the way. That's just a general rule. So let's see where this conversation goes. Sarah May Little, I just texted you. Okay. So Sarah May Little is saying basically you can prune out the unalived branches. That's very true. She's absolutely right in that. And what I would say is no, it's not anything to be concerned about that I can tell. You've got a really cool metal art thing and a really cool car art on the background. I love your decor back there, but no, that's pretty normal. As the branches are growing out for sunlight, as we call it, phototropic growth. Photo being light and tropic being growth towards. And so what you're seeing is the branches are getting longer. That's totally normal. Now, what you don't want is for them to grow too fast, because the faster the branch grows, the faster the tree grows in general, the less susceptible, or the more susceptible it's going to be towards pests and things like that. We call them sinks and sources, is basically phototropism. Each one of these leaves is looking for light. And I know this is not arborvitae leaves, but I don't know how to draw arborvitae leaves, so deal with it. Each one of these leaves is a food factory for the tree. So as the sunlight hits it, they're essentially taking that and using it as energy to convert CO2, carbon dioxide, and H2O, water, into C6. Oh, I don't know how to draw you. I don't even know how to write at this point. I must be tired or something. C6H12O6, or as we might call it in layman's terms, sugar. So your leaves are trying to grow out towards the light to envelop and encapsulate as much sunlight as it possibly can, so that it can basically just make the sugar that it needs. Now, if we were to dissect the tree and figure out what it was made of, it would be about 45% oxygen, well, about 45% carbon. So there you go. About 45% that, about 45% that, and about 4% that. Now, if y'all are mathematicians, we're up to 94%, and that can vary. That could be even up to 96%. Then you got about 3% nitrogen. And so now you're up to like 97% of the tree is made of air, by the way. So your tree's growing out to get more sunlight. That is totally normal for branches to grow out heavy like that. I don't see the seed pods that you're talking about. But here's my rule. If the tree put it there, we got to have a better reason to take it off. So I'm not seeing any of the seed pods. I'm not seeing any. Oh, I see like flowers maybe. Yeah, that might be the fruit. Oh, y'all can't see what I'm seeing. Here we go. Yeah, that might be the fruit on the ends of it, but no, don't worry about it. If you really are getting so heavy that you're breaking limbs, what you can do is you can actually reduce that back a little bit. And hopefully y'all get notes. If not, sorry, too late. So let's say you've got a branch here and you got a couple branches to come off of it. You can actually reduce the weight off of that and just get rid of some of these end weights. Oh, that was crazy. And sometimes that helps reduce the leverage And it'll actually stunt the growth on that particular branch too. So for example, what that might look like is right here. You can make a small pruning wound. Let me open up paint. Hold on. Lucas, are you driving? Oh, it's the fan blowing. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, so let's see here. So this is a great example. What I might do is I might just say like, take this particular. Oh, that needs to be red. It needs to be bigger too. So just make like this cut right here. And you can kind of emulate that all the way through the tree. And essentially what you're doing is you're just reducing the canopy height. But that's actually a really natural way to do it. Why is it not showing my paint here, Lucas? What am I doing? Oh, I know why. I know why. Hold on. Let me fix this, you guys. I'm sitting here just doing stupid bad art, and y'all can't even see it. How embarrassing. What's up? Okay, here we go. That is so much better. All right, so we've got a tree here. Was it Laura? I think it is. Yeah, Laura's tree. And like you can see, I made this little red mark here. That might be a really good example of reduction cut. Is basically you're not coming in and topping the limb where you just cut it off non-discriminately. You're actually making a reduction cut back to another lateral branch. And that is so critically important that you don't just like cut it off all willy-nilly. You got to cut it back to a limb that can support the growth. And generally speaking, you want to go no more than 1/3. The diameter of the branch in inches should be no more than 1/3 of what that parent branch is that you cut off. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys. But essentially, we're just talking about reduction pruning, and you're reducing the canopy height. So hopefully that helps. But honestly, Laura, I don't think you got a big deal going on. I'd just let it grow personally. If it does start breaking in the wind or whatever, maybe you can do a little bit of reduction pruning. But oh man, what happened? This is ridiculous. I hit the X bar, didn't I? Or did I hit back? Lucas, are you watching? Are you paying attention? My bad, y'all. Sorry. I'm like the worst technology guys. Y'all, if I had my choice, I would disappear with my family into the forest and the lakes and the streams and the rivers and just get out of Dodge. But y'all need help with your trees. So here we are talking. So I'm sorry for my really terrible technology. You can see that's about as high quality, high tech as I get right there. So anyways, let's go back. Where were we? We're talking about an arborvitae. It wasn't this one. It wasn't this one. It wasn't this one. Wasn't this one. Wasn't this one. Wasn't this one. Holy cow. We got a lot to go over tonight, don't we? Oops. How many were there? Did you check, Lucas? Lucas here in my ear, by the way, y'all. It was a long scroll. 40. So Lucas thinks we got about 40 questions. So I better hurry it on up, y'all. Let's go. All right. So Jill asks, hi, we bought a house. Feel like it's going to be too close to our house. Our neighbor has the same tree. You can see it in the background on one of the photos, and it is huge. Is there any way to keep this small tree or try? Or keep this tree small or try? Yes, there is what's called paclobutrazol. Honestly, I don't think you need to. You can. This is a paclobutrazol is a growth rate regulator. It basically shuts down the hormone that causes the branches to grow in length. So let me get rid of this. Hold on. So essentially, what it does. Are you kidding me right now? I just screwed it up. This is ridiculous. I didn't exit anything. I just full screened it and it decided to act all wonky like this. No, I didn't hit the space bar. I'm an innocent man. No, I'm guilty. That's why I trust Jesus, y'all, as Lord and Savior, because I am not an innocent man. But also, I want to be a good guy. So that's why we're here. That's one thing that we're doing here is trying to be good, help y'all with your trees. That's at least maybe a part of it. But there we go. Okay, catalpas are really cool trees, by the way, Joe. They are one of my favorite, actually. They got those big, giant, like 12-inch in diameter, 12-inch wide, heart-shaped leaves. And just super cool trees. Beautiful blooms. You can see them there. And but no, I wouldn't worry about it growing around your house too close by any means. You do want to make sure that the branches are pruned over the house and over the deck there, and because a lot of times catalpas are not the strongest tree, I would say. They're great trees, but just on those limbs that are growing over the deck. Here's your deck here, and here's your house. Just what you could do is kind of do that reduction, structural pruning type stuff, and just trim them back a little bit. Just take away some of the edges. Not topping. I'm not promoting topping, y'all. Somebody accused me of that the other day. It's like, oh, you just want to top all the trees. No, I don't. I want to structurally prune all of the trees. The Bible says, train a child in the way he should grow, or the way he should go. Sorry, talking trees here. In the way he should go, and when he's old, he'll never turn from it. And I've found the same to be true with trees. If you can structurally train them to be really strong, healthy trees, you generally do not lose them in storms. And sometimes you get minor limbs break, but trees are actually designed to be able to handle that. What you don't want is a big limb coming crashing through your house and potentially causing harm to you, your family, your home, whatever. That's no good. So hope that helps, Joe. We are moving on. Here we are. Okay, so Loris asks, please help. What's going on with my tree? I appreciate the knowledge and advice. Thank you. So this one, you can go back here and check it out. But I think this is Phytophthora bleeding wound canker. I think you've got a tree that's going to very soon unalive here, Loris. I'm sorry. That really stinks. But that is, by the way, this is textbook how I want y'all to post videos and just give us as much good information as you can. That really helps us to do a good job of diagnosing and figuring these problems out and helping guide you along. So unfortunately, Loris's tree is probably not going to make it with as much damage as there is. You got some bleeding wound cankers. You got maybe even some borers that are causing some excess bleeding wound cankers. And unfortunately, the root flares are buried, and there's just not a great chance of it making it. So sorry, Loris, but we dealt with that and wish you the best. Let us know if you need help getting the next one established. So Christina, also, I was able to answer this one. This is one of those that, man, I wish I was there 10 years ago because this could have been preserved. So she asks if you've heard, I've heard you can cable or bolt them, but I've never seen one this large. Actually, I've seen and done bolts and cables to limbs the size of your tree, Christina. So it's actually not a big deal that it's that big. Unfortunately, though, they've already lost this one stem. And so what in an ideal world, let me draw this out for you. In an ideal world, so what we've got here is I would call it a tridominant tree or a multi-stem tree with 3 stems. And basically we got one stem here, one stem here, one stem here, and kind of a crazy branch union in the middle. I don't know if that makes sense to y'all. Does that make any sense, Lucas, or am I just nuts here? It makes sense. Okay, he's saying it makes so much sense. But Lucas talks trees with me all day, so you may be biased. So you've lost one of these stems. It's gone. And so essentially all of that tissue is going to decay internal in here. Now, unfortunately, Christina's house is right here. So if something were to break, it's going to go this direction, or this direction. It's probably going to go that direction. And so unfortunately, I had to let her know that this is just not a great choice. And if that third stem were there, then maybe we could do kind of a triangle cable here. So let's say this wasn't an issue. What we could have done is cabled these 3 in a triangle formation and been able to preserve everything. But like I said, unfortunately, we've lost that primary lead, and it's just not a great choice. I think you're better off removing that, Christina. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you have had a tree. By the way, y'all, this is classic lion's tail pruning. So bad. Don't ever prune your trees up like this, because this is the ultimate end result is you've got to remove the tree because now it's breaking. They obviously lost that big lead and they got a lot at risk, including old puppy dog down here. So I'm sorry, Christina, but hopefully that's some good solid advice to make the right decision moving forward. All right, so Ask an Arborist. Jamie Hernandez asks, I have these trees. One is a Chinese pistache. The other, I think, is a Raymond ash. I don't know what a Raymond ash is. Anyhow, all summer the Raymond ash drops leaves. So winter, I get all the leaves that fall. And summer, it drops as well. Is there a reason for this? I'm in California. California could be a ton of different climates, so I'm not sure exactly, but typically when you've got a tree that's defoliating during the summer, that means the tree is stressed and you got something that's causing it to be stressed. So you do have a lot of hardscaping around there that is probably going to put a little damper on the tree's ability to thrive and grow. So I'd say maybe you've got just some really stressed tree. I see the root flares are buried there a little bit too. So get those root flares exposed. Let me show you on the drawing board. You always want a tree that looks like a tree. You don't want a tree that looks like a light bulb. So if you see a tree that goes straight in the ground like this, you are wrong. If there's anything going on here, there's roots that are wrapping around and girdling, just constricting that growth. So what you want is ask a 5-foot to draw a tree. They're all going to draw these big giant root flares that come out, stem away from it. That's transitionary tissue from root to stem, and that is a very, very important part of the tree. So what you want is your soil level to be right about there. You don't want a tree to look like a big telephone pole sticking out of the ground, because that is a structurally weak and damaged tree. So even though you've got not too bad on that one tree I can see, I definitely see those root flares a little more buried than I'd like to see. And hopefully you can get those exposed. And then the other thing is just give them some extra resources. And again, I love these guys. I'm working on getting our store together, and I'll make a post about that here pretty soon. Once we get it all up and running, so you can purchase it directly from us, because man, it's great stuff. It really is. And I just thought this would be like a great thing to be able to offer you guys, is just make sure that you've got the right resources. So check that stuff out. And like I said, I'll make sure we get that up and running before we come together next week and do this again. What on earth just freaking happened, Lucas? What did I do? Oh, hold on. All right. There we go. Hey, that's me. Man, I'm going bald up there, aren't I? That's crazy. I got bad genes. I gotta go back to the store and get some new ones. Lucas says I got some more hair than he does. Y'all are stressing me out with all these tree problems, so I'm losing my hair now, I guess. That's what we do. He says just shave it off. No, I'll keep whatever I can. I'll do the whole microdermabrasion. Is that what it is? All right. Okay, so here we are. I think we're getting back to it. Man, this wastes so much time, y'all. What's that? Here we go. All right. Hi, Handyman. Assembly asks, hi, everyone. I could really use some extra device. One of our mature trees has developed a serious split at the trunk. It looks like there's internal rot. It's where two large branches meet. I've attached a few photos showing the damage. Tree has sentimental value and provides great shade. I love that. So I'd love to save it if possible, but I'm also concerned about safety as it's near where children die. Any recommendation on what to do? Thanks so much in advance. Let's take a look at it. Ooh, yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. That's a big. So that was two trees that grew up into one, and the trunk fused together. That's pretty cool. And you've got maybe a third here. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, you've got some structural weaknesses here, and that actually could. Oh goodness, that's not ideal. Okay, so something broke here at some point. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, so you got a structurally decrepit tree here, Handy. Hi, handyman. What you could do, you're going to have to find a local guy that knows what they're doing. It's preferably a certified arborist who is track certified, TRAQ. That's tree risk assessment qualified. And you're going to have to bring those limbs back together, and then you're going to have to cable it. What I would do is let me make just a drawing here for you. I'm going to copy this bad boy, and we're going to go right over here to paint, and we're going to paste it. Okay, so what you're going to have to do is essentially whoa, what happened here? What? Huh? Yeah, but I got something going on here. I got multiple. How do I select that one? No, I'm looking for like the mouse button. Select all, and we're going to delete it. Now we're control V. Okay, cool. Now we got a solid image. So what you're going to have to do is do a threaded rod through all 4 of those stems. This is kind of a pain, but it is very feasible, and you're just going to have to do it. I know it's like, that stinks, but it's very important to be able to bolt all the way across these. But essentially, you're going to have to bring it back together and then add those structural support systems in there. And that's a big one. You've got a lot of damage there, and man, that really stinks. I'm sorry, especially on a sentimental tree. Y'all wouldn't believe how many times I talk to folks that they planted the tree in memory of somebody. But you got a lot going on here, and this would be one of those that it'd be really good for us to get on a digital arborist consultation. And just so y'all know too, like this is something that we do. This is what I do professionally. It's kind of like telemedicine for trees. Is my company's Arborist on Demand. So if you click on this button here, talk to an arborist, and that'll send us a notification. Or you can go right in here to digital arborist tree consultations, and you can just click right on, where is it here? There we go. You can click this button here, and that'll bring you to our Shopify store and get you going in the right direction. Basically, just charge like $90 for a digital arborist consultation, and we'll spend 15, 30 minutes on the phone and on a Zoom chat and see if we can't get you pointed in the right direction. And with every single one of them, it basically comes with like a whole care package. I'm going to tell you exactly what I would do if it were my trees. So this is, like I said, it's a passion of mine, being able to help as many people as I can with their trees, because quite frankly, trees are important, and they really benefit us in so many ways. And, a lot of people plant their trees in memory of loved ones. When I die, part of my will is actually, when I unalive, part of my will is that I'm planted as a tree. I'm going to be cremated, and my ashes basically used to grow a tree. And so that's something. There's a lot of arborists that do the same, by the way. But yes, you've got a really weak structure here. You're going to have to cure that up. And, it might be good to slow down the growth too with some paclobutrazole. Rotted beam on the end. I wouldn't. I think that tree's best to keep all of those stems. And if you can, just cable them together way up top with a structural support cable. So you want it to be at least 1/4 inch in diameter and EHS rated. Here, make sure the guys that are doing it know what they're talking about. That's going to be really important. So hope that helps. And we're moving on. Joe asks, I have a tree that didn't fully live out this year and now seems to be unaliving. Leaves that started healthy in spring are now turning. There are black spots on the tree that seem new this year as well. We're on the East Coast outside of Philly. Is there anything I can do? 30-year tree, 30-year living here, and the first time we had any issues. I think you've got some sort of fungal pathogen that's causing those bleeding wound cankers. And I'll be honest, Joe, this is probably a lost cause. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but yeah, that's an extremely stressed tree, and the fungus has been going at this for years and years and years. Make sure whenever you're watering that you don't water so much to where the water stays saturated, because that can actually just further propagate fungal pathogens. Oh yeah, I see something growing at the base here too, Joe. I'm sorry, man. I think you've got a lost cause. If it were me, I would get rid of it and replant. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but hope that helps. And we're moving on. All right. Michelle asks, HOA planted this tree 3 feet from our house. Will the roots be an issue? Any better alternative? What kind of tree is this? I want to say some kind of maple, but I don't think that's right. I want to say maybe box elder. Could it be a box elder? Let's see what the robots have to say about it, y'all. Hold, give me 1 second here. All right, upload. What tree is this? I asked robots. Vine maple. Okay, that was okay. It is in the Acer family, so it's not a box elder. It's an Acer. Acer is rubrum or sacrum. I don't think that's right. Vine maple is what it's saying. Oh, okay, yeah, Acer circinatum, maybe. Yeah, you've got. I don't think it's a big deal. Maples tend to be kind of weak structured, so you may want to make sure that you're doing the pruning, like structural pruning, every few years, just to keep it growing in the right direction. But honestly, I don't think it's an issue. If you're worried about the foundation, here's the rule with trees: trees will not grow, roots will not grow, and then full screen is roots will not grow where there's no water and oxygen. So you got your house. You got a tree 3 feet from your house. The biggest thing you've got to worry about is those branches are going to grow over the house. You do not have to worry about your roots because those roots are going to grow all the way around. I have even seen where you've got, here, let's make a 3-dimensional house. This is terrible, y'all. You get the point, though. I'm going to make a little front door so you can see. There we go. So you got your roots are coming into the house, and they will actually grow around the foundation. They don't want to be under there because there's no water and there's no oxygen. And so it's very rare that you'll get roots come under and start pushing up. Now, they do have the ability to push upwards of 16 to 20,000 PSI. And so that's not insignificant. Your maples aren't going to be as strong, but they certainly can push up on your sidewalk because there's water and there's oxygen under there. But under your house, probably not going to happen. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. The main thing is you want to make sure you structurally prune those branches over the house. That's going to be really, really important. And just a little bit of weight reduction on the end every now and then. Take the limbs that are crossing and get rid of them. Those will cause damage and make it weaker. But no, I wouldn't worry about it. You probably, hey, thanks HOA. You just gave me some extra shade or some extra wind blockage. So anyways, no, I wouldn't be too worried about it. But certainly get that structural pruning done periodically. And if you need help with finding like a good arborist, I'm happy to help guide you along there. We can always get on a Zoom chat and just go over kind of game plan. What do you do maintaining it moving forward? So, anyways, hope that helps, and we are moving on. All right, so handyman husband, man, I am so sorry, handyman. I forgot to get back with you. You sent me. We were talking on a text message. I think handyman's got a legal case here and I'm not an attorney, but oh wait, you'll need to see what I'm looking at. Here we go. So new builder behind me flooded our yard with grading change, then dug trenches 2 feet out for my cedars to add drainage to the full length of my tree line. Pretty sure they unalived my 70 feet of cedars by cutting the roots. The cedars on my side property are green and healthy. I can't see any other reason for that many healthy trees to unalive off. So yeah, I think what you've got is they severed the roots. They came in and cut them all along the side here, whichever side it is. It looks like on the back side. That's not good. That leaves them prone to falling over. And then they changed the grading, which is causing the irrigation to drain down onto the roots. Cedars don't like wet feet. They will grow in hot, arid, desert-like conditions like we have here in Central Texas and thrive, but they don't like wet feet. So now that you've got all that extra flooding, yes, I think you've got a pretty good case, and we can probably prove that on a piece of paper. And so, anyways, I'll get back with you, handyman. I'm sorry. Okay, and let me take a little break here. We had what's that? Yeah. So thanks for joining us up Academic Mailbox. Academic Mailbox is asking, I have a sycamore that turned into a large tree, because they do. Sycamores get huge, by the way. I have climbed 100-foot tall sycamores with 4-foot diameter trunks on them. And I used to care for one that had a 6-foot diameter trunk on it. It was about 88 feet tall. We measured that one because it's freaking cool. That was up in McKinney, Texas. And they actually do well in wet feet. So it's handyman, maybe that's a good alternative. But remove some large branches. Sycamores get huge limbs. Do not remove those large branches. What you want to do is you want to subordinate them. So let me full screen this right quickly. This is going to be really important because Most people, when they get a limb that they're worried about, they just come in and cut it off. Now, on a mature tree, like what I think you're describing, you've got these big limbs that grow out, and they've got all these different branches on. I'm a terrible artist. I'm sorry. So what academic mailbox is talking about is like removing large limbs like this. Well, here's the problem: is it's going to take 5, 10, 15, 20 years for that wound to seal. And all the while, all these different pathogens are going to start entering the tree. So if it is at all possible, I just partly pruned a cedar with large limbs on the other side of the same house, wet ground, but cedar managed to grow. For now, we'll see. Cedars, sometimes you don't see the stress, the results of damage or stress to trees for 5 years, even 5, 7 years. I've seen it as long as 10 years later. They put a sidewalk in, and 10 years later, the tree's in decline. And so trees move a lot slower than us humans. We have circulatory systems that move blood, oxygen, etc. Our immune system throughout our body, like within seconds. Trees take decades sometimes before you see any results of changes. So we'll see. But if you can avoid it, what you want to do instead is maybe do what we call structural pruning here. And you can even maybe install a structural support cable to tie to this limb from this limb. I don't know. I'm not looking at it, academic mailbox, but that's a great question. It's best to do it preemptively, proactively, and start pruning these trees from an early age. But on a mature tree like that, try not to remove big limbs. If you can subordinate those limbs and reduce the weight and the leverage over your house, you might be good. Honestly, there's a lot of research into those cabling systems, and man, I've done thousands of them, and not a single one has failed. Actually, one failed, and it was installed by a guy that didn't know what he was doing. He installed it wrong, winds blew, and it failed. Fortunately, the limb stayed up in the air, and the cable, we just had to recable it. So, but there is a lot of research on that, and hope that helps. That's a great question, and thanks for being here with us, man. You got one more. What'd you say? Sycamore is almost codominant, but not quite. Oh, I love that. Look at that big word, codominant. I removed loads of second dominant limbs all along my alder rows. Sycamores had starved them of resources. Those alders were unalived. Yeah, alders are not. They're weaker trees. I'm assuming you're up north or northwest somewhere. But sycamore is your better choice. On a humble opinion, I would rather have a sycamore than an alder. And I don't have a lot of alders in Texas. Like, I don't think we have any, honestly. But anyways, hope that helps, man. We're moving on. All right. So Confident Lemur, what a great name. Please help. My sister's red maple is ill. What can she do? That's a really good question, Confident Lemur. You got a really bad structure here, but I'm also seeing buried root flares, and it looks like concrete there. I'm not worried about that gash, that mark that I'm seeing. That's not a big deal. The tree can probably survive on that. But what I am worried about is those root flares being buried. You've got to get those root flares exposed and really just work hard to upgrade the health and vitality of the tree. And again, I'm happy to get on a digital arborist consultation with you, and we can really work out a good game plan. So hope that helps. What's that? Oh, what's up, Ireland? That's awesome, man. Hey, glad to have you here from across the pond, dude. That's really exciting. Thanks for being a part of this group. This is that's pretty cool. And that's one thing I love about this group is we get calls from. You're probably my third person I've talked to. One couple of guys were in Dublin, and it's really cool. I've talked to a bunch of Canadians, Australian, New Zealand. Didn't we have a South African here one day, or maybe I'm thinking New Zealand, but all over the place. Brisbane the other day. It's so cool because we can get on here and we can talk trees. And like I said, the one out of about 100 to 120 who hold the BCMA and the RCA in the world. And so for me to be able to do this and help somebody from way over in freaking Ireland, that's really cool. I'm in Texas, by the way, 2,000, 4,000 miles away. And here we are having a great conversation. And man, I wish you the best from way over in Ireland, man. What a great opportunity to connect. And thanks for being here. Academic Mailbox. What a great name too. All right. So Susan Jean asks, our cherry tree is 1 year old. We've had a lot of rain in the past 3 weeks in Oklahoma. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, this is cool. Bamber Agroforestry in Australia recommended the channel. Well, thank you so much for that recommendation. And man, what a cool way. We're, like I said, we're really growing super fast here. Hopefully this is good value to get you guys. And that's the reason that it's growing so fast. And like I said, I'm just trying to help people with their cool trees, because it turns out trees are really important for Houston, or for Houston, definitely, but for people in general. And, first commandment to mankind, at least in my belief system, and I think God wrote the Bible and it's true. And he says the first commandment was to mankind was to work the land and care for the land. So y'all, I got a great job. I love what I do. So anyways, there's a little theology lesson for the week. But anyway, Susan's asking, tree was 1 year old in Oklahoma. Then the heat really turned on after it rained for 3 weeks. The tree was beautiful and green, and when the heat turned on, it went to this. I've noticed lots of trees throughout the area that are doing the same thing. What is going on? That's a great question. I don't know what kind of tree you've got. You've got opposite leaf arrangement. Oof, I'm drawing a blank on this, Susan. If you could let me know, that would help too. I don't know. Yeah, take a picture of the bottom of the tree. Great advice, Lucas. Thank you for posting that. Could you take a picture of the bottom of the tree as well and a bit closer to the leaves that have wilted? So 1 year old tree, I'm going to just take a wild guess here and say it was probably planted wrong. I don't know very many landscapers that plant trees properly. And unfortunately, they get the majority of the business, because whenever people think of trees, they think of landscapers. And so somehow, look at it, think of it like this, y'all. Would you hire your dentist to do your brain surgery? Here, I'm talking to you guys. Would you hire your dentist to do your brain surgery? No. Why? Well, they got the right tools, right? And that doesn't mean they know what they're doing. By the way, they're also probably very well qualified professionals in their particular trade, but you wouldn't hire them because that's not their expertise. Trees are different animal than your grasses and your landscape plants. And so it's always best to have a good, well-qualified arborist along with a good, well-qualified landscaper. So that's really important. But honestly, you've probably got a tree that was planted wrong. I would love to see better images, but realistically, water is probably pooling in there in what we call the teacup effect, and it's no good. Essentially, go back to 8th grade science. You got diffusion and osmosis, and water wants to pool, go from high pressure to low pressure. So you got this brand new planting site. Wow, that's off. And they typically plant the root ball, which is about the same diameter as the hole you're sticking it in. And there's your tree, by the way. And so what happens is water wants to go from this high pressure into this low pressure. And essentially, it just pools in the middle. Wow, I can't draw arrows, y'all. That's pathetic. So the water wants to go. I need to get a blue marker all in there. And especially with that extra heavy rain, now you've got a stress tree. Now the heat comes, and all of a sudden it just melts the tree. And so what I would do, I'm going to send you this one. Where's my links? Meanwhile, the weeds are thriving. Oops. You don't want to like them out. Look at my ugly mug. And I'm going to give you this one too. Hope that helps, Susan. Sorry you're dealing with that. But yeah, like I said, again, if we need to hop on a digital arborist consultation, I'm happy to help you out. I would love to be a part of that and get you going in the right direction with your trees. So feel free to sign up and join me. All right. Anonymous participant asks, can someone help me with what's going on with this tree and how to correct it? Oh my goodness. Cool 3D effect. Can you please include a far-away shot? Yes. Okay. What are we looking at here? Did he include one? Search from botany. What does that mean? Yeah, my question exactly. The more images we see of the whole tree can show us a little more to give you the best diagnosis. Oh, wow. That's right next to infrastructure. Ladder. It looks like some sort of a pest or pathogen that's attacking it, Anonymous. I don't know exactly what it is, but you've got, you could do a real simple test for mites and see if maybe that's it. Basically, you just take a sheet of paper. Take a sheet of paper, shake the limbs over. Where's a limb? I need a limb. Just shake the limb right over your right over your piece of paper and just look at it. You can get a magnifying glass if you're blind like me because there's too much sawdust in your eyes over the years. But basically, you're looking for little 8-legged crawlers on there. And check for mites because I don't know exactly what's going on, but it looks like some sort of a spruce or a conifer of some sort. That is a really cool 3D effect too, by the way. I'd love to know your secrets. But it looks like some sort of bug chewing on it to me. It could be a fungal pathogen too, but I'm not sure exactly, man. I'm sorry. I wish I knew more about the situation. Give me a little history there too. When did this start? What have you noticed? And maybe try that mite test to see if we can get a little better idea of what's going on. By the way, my amazing wife is really helping to kind of clean things up and organize here. So big shout out to you, my love. You're amazing. And she's created an educational video album. We're going to start dropping some of the YouTube videos that we do. What's up? Oh, what's up, JK? Hey, thanks for joining us. Glad to have you. So cool. Okay, so yeah, we're really trying to clean things up and get a little more organized. And so we're going to start dropping a lot of the videos that I produce. And by the way, I work with a radio show here in Houston too, and it's the Texas Home Improvement Show. And we basically this guy Jim Dutton teaches about all things homes. Anything that you could want to know about your home and how it works and how to take care of it properly, he teaches. And he's brought me in to help on the tree side as well. So we do the Ask the Arborist radio show as well sometimes. And so stuff like that, anytime we do videos, we want to post those on there to be a good resource for you guys as well. So anyways, thank you to my beautiful bride. You rock my world in so many ways. And thanks for all your help organizing and cleaning things up. So, all right. Anonymous asks, I had a 20 to 25 foot pine tree fall last week during 70-mile-an-hour winds. I have a 4-foot green giant arborvitae to replace it. Was wondering to remove the rest of the stump, backfill, and plant the arborvitae here. Wondering if it's necessary to fully remove the stump. Would it be a bad idea to cut it down to ground level and plant the arborvitae a couple feet back? I don't think so. It looks like you've got a lot of the root system that's gone there, and so it's broken it up. You want to make sure to stay outside of that root ball. Wherever you see the big supporting roots, you want to stay away from that because they will decay. They will get all sorts of fungal pathogens that are not pathogens so much when they're decaying roots that are gone, trees that are unalive. That's just called nature. But they can get into your arborvitae and cause problems. But no, it's not that big a deal. Just make sure you get rid of a good portion of it. Yeah, I'd say just make sure there's no big roots in that area and you should be just fine. Also, make sure not to plant it too deep. Make sure not to plant it in a hole that is tiny. That's not good. So anyways, moving on. All right, academic mailbox asks another one. Just trivia, ash tree unalive off. I have a migratory white owl sticks to coastal saltwater adjacent place. Flies down from Siberia to west of Ireland. Chicks in an unalived ash tree was crow rookery before. I'm confused on what that means. Oh, what did I just do? Oh, that was cool. Huge 4-foot wingspan. Strange what you find in unalive trees too. Yes. Oh man, okay. I think I know what you're saying, academic. I'm sorry. So this is a really good point, y'all. So unalive trees can be the perfect habitat for critters. All the critters. If you've got like a pine bark beetle infestation, you don't want that unalived tree there. But essentially, you've got a tree. It unalives. What do? Well, you can cut it down and get rid of it, and it's gone. And that's one choice. And if the tree is around your house, that might be even be the best choice. So you got to protect your family. But what you can do as well, if you've got it away from your family, away from your house, and it's not a big deal for it to stay there, you can actually come in and just remove some of that unalived tissue and just leave a little hat rack in the air, or even just a little stump in the air. And that's okay, because what will happen is that'll become a perfect home for a lot of the critters. You'll get all these borers that'll come and infect this tree instead of your other trees, which you want to preserve. Now, again, you want to make sure you get some good guidance on this on a local level and somebody that knows what exactly is going on with your area. And let me leave you this post here. But, I get this all the time, and they're like, well, I got these birds that nest in this unalived tree, and I don't really want to remove it. What do I do? And it's like, well, don't remove it then. Like, it's not a big deal, because all of those borers that are coming in here, now all the birds come. That's my bird. That's about as good as the bird of a bird as I can draw. They're going to come and they're going to eat the bugs. You'll get all kinds of pileated, however you pronounce it, woodpeckers and such that'll come in. They'll eat all the bugs, and you'll create a really, really healthy ecosystem. So y'all protect the nature that we live around, because it actually protects us a lot more than y'all realize. And I just saw that, JK. Yes, I adore my bride. If you hadn't noticed, she's just awesome to be married to. And we've been okay. We got a bird, by the way. Speaking of birds, we got a bird for each year of marriage. So she's got 8 and I've got 8, and when we hold hands, we got a little flock for each year of marriage. So, anyways, thanks for the compliment. Yeah, she rocks my world, and I just live to take care of this family and also help y'all with trees. So, anyways, we're moving on, guys. I'm like talking. Okay, so speaking of my beautiful bride, we did post this earlier, and essentially just asking you to get a little more specific about the questions that you're asking. Sometimes it's really hard for me to tell based off of a question like, "Hey, what do I do with my sick tree?" I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a soothsayer. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a mind reader. And it's like you got to be more specific. So list the species if you know it. Stay where you're located. Like state even specific is good enough. That's great. I appreciate that, JK. Yeah, and academic was saying too, it's on a farmland. Sound of chicks made me turn off the chainsaw. Yeah, man, it's important to stop and just appreciate nature a little bit. God did a pretty good job designing everything. So get some really specific photos, preferably up close, far away. If you've got like some more, if you've got like some of like specific things that you're noticing, like fungus or a bug or anything like that, that really, really helps. And any important details, if you've been through like geographically, if you've been through some sort of inclement weather lately, or flooding or drought or anything like that. Good point. Lightning strikes, proximity to construction. That's a big one, y'all. I see so many times and we looked at where you at. It was handyman husband, I think. Yeah, here we go. Construction site right behind him. All of a sudden, his trees are unaliving. I wonder what happened. Like, I don't. You just got to put that on paper and prove it. That's the key. Anyways, we're moving on. So thank you again, my love, for posting that. If you're watching, sometimes she's here with us. What is wrong with this tree? It's a bloodgood Japanese maple. Hopefully y'all can hear that. Oh, goodness. Well, you got leaf coming in. That's a good thing. Oh, cool. I bet you're in Warren County, aren't you? Sussex or Warren County? I'd be willing to bet money. That's beautiful out there, by the way. In Jersey, don't you know? I think, don't you know, that's more Midwest. No visible comments. I think you've got a poorly planted tree. I think that's plain and simple. As the tree has been planted way too deep. The root flares are buried. Let me go through this again one more time for y'all. If you've got a tree and it looks like a telephone pole coming out of the ground with dirt here, it's wrong. That's no good. What you want to see is these big giant root flares that come out. Even if they transition into roots and you can see the roots, that's actually better than if it's like this. And so you want the soil level to be right about the 45-degree or greater mark. I know that's not like a specific number. That's not an exact science. But whenever you've got trees that are buried like this, two things happen. Is A, that area needs to breathe. And so if it doesn't, it'll create a perfect breeding ground for fungal pathogens and things like that. You get all these little mushrooms that grow up, and that's no good. And they'll start to decay the wood, and your tree will just plop right out of the ground anytime you get a big wind. The other thing that happens too, I'm going to erase that because that looks kind of dirty. That's not good. The other thing that happens is the roots will literally come up for oxygen. They want to be at the right place. And so often they will wrap around and they'll start to constrict that trunk, and it'll literally cut off the circulation to the entire canopy. So you got a little bit of that going on. And I'll just add one more thing too, is often you'll get that teacup effect where water wants to pool in that area. And so that often can just drown the roots, and they need to breathe. Tree roots need to breathe just like you and I do at all times. Every cell in our body does. Trees are the same. And so when you've got a soil that is compacted, or you've got a tree that was planted too deep, or it wasn't planted wide enough. By the way, so you got a root ball here and a tree coming out of it. You want the root ball that you're growing in to be 2 to 3 times the diameter of that root ball. So if you've got 12 inches here, you want a 36-inch hole all the way across. And by the way, the further you go, the better off your tree is. So here we go. Oh, I love it. Oh, this is great. JK saying, ever since I saw you describe the mulch volcano problem, I see them like everywhere. Yeah, you and me both. Sister, that's, oh my gosh. How, if there was like one thing I could do to stop that would better the world, it's like I'd like go in with a backhoe or something and just start bulldozing all the mulch volcanoes. That probably cause a lot of damage to trees, though. Have to stop myself from digging up other people's property. That's awesome. Maybe get permission so you don't get caught on trespassing there. But I'm the same way. Every time I see it, and it's like, you guys spent money on that, guys. You paid people good, hard-earned money to ruin your trees. Like, why would you do that? First of all. Second of all, grow up, industry. Grow up, tree care industry. Like, what is wrong with these people? Y'all read a book or something. Okay, there's rant over. Anyways, I love it. Yeah. Oh, JK, you're preaching to the choir here. This is, oh man, why do they do that? You spend money on that just to make it worse. That's just ridiculous, y'all. That's just a bad plan. All right. Hi, arborist. This may be the silliest question yet, but we have an elm tree that has gone through a major growth spurt. It's now blocking all the sun from our garden, but I refuse to cut it. That's awesome. Is it possible to somehow guide it out of the way with cables? Yes, but you're fighting an uphill battle. Wow. Nicole's saying the letter B got me censored, or the word gardener in limnology plus BPA. I'm sorry, Nicole. We're working on we're working on figuring out the happy medium where it censors all the bad words and doesn't let this be like a perverted channel or something like that. Oh, what's up, Michael? Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna get to you here in a minute, Michael. But it's glad you're here, buddy. This is exciting. So I'll tell you a little bit, Michael, about here in just a minute. He's a great dude. So Nicole's saying all are censored being hangry except the push needing pruning. I'm sorry, we're working on that, and we're trying to find that happy medium where we keep this a clean channel, and also we don't have we don't have like too much censorship. Like, I believe in freedom. That's part of why we live in Texas. It's a pretty free state, y'all. But yes, what you can do, I'll be honest, that's gonna be a tough one, because if it is an American elm, which it looks like, or slippery elm, it's going to get big. And Michael brought up a point here. He's talking about this on LinkedIn, by the way. We're streaming there as well. Lions tailing on 95% of the houses in my expensive neighborhood. Yo, me too, dude. Expensive neighborhood, brand new, flush cuts and all. And then these guys are going through and they're just hack chopping and slicing, and it's just so gross and dirty. Which university? Oh yeah. And they look at the Montrose trees, Michael. Next time you're in the area, they actually came in and they topped on one side of the trees. These are like 200 and some odd trees. They're all topping them, just making non-discriminate cuts, and it's just gross. And these are like supposedly the best in Houston. It's like, what the heck, y'all? But Michael's talking about pavement here. It's a question about pavement. If you're removing pavement and replacing it with soil, mulch, sand, how would you treat the roots, amendment, etc., prior to the new top dressing? And secondly, what mix would you have for topsoil? Houston live oaks. Great question, dude. Ripped bark to not drop crotch pruning. Yeah, not that would be reduction pruning. So by the way, Michael is a great dude. He is another consulting arborist here in the Houston area. And I don't know if you got it yet, but I know he was working towards his RCA. That's a registered consulting arborist and a great dude. So he's on the north side up in, I think you're in not Crosby, Conroe area. And so he does, he works with a lot of development companies. And so he and I had lunch the other day. Just a great dude, great arborist too. Really knows his stuff. So he's asking about removing pavement and replacing with soil, mulch, and sand. How would you treat the roots? I would probably give it a little IBA, indolebutyric acid, indole-3-butyric acid, to try to just jumpstart the roots a little bit. That might not be necessary, honestly. What I would do is just give it a little extra humates. That'll just help to restructure the soil. And so he's talking about Houston live oaks. I know the area. I know you've got clay soil up there. And I would do some humic acid and maybe even some calcium, like available calcium. Mostly commercial developer landowner clients. Yes. And he's a wonder. He was showing me some of his gear. He said, what was it, down to 6 inches accuracy on the tree surveys that you're doing? 3 inches or 6 inches accuracy, which is unreal. That's some of the best technology on the market, like up there with military grade. So he's a great guy, great arborist, and glad to have you here in the Houston area. So yeah, humic acid is really, really, really beneficial at breaking up clay and high sodic soils. So if you've got a lot of salt, if you've got a sandy soil and it's high in salt, then humic acid is really great. I might just give it a high dose of humic acid. First of all, you want to do a soil sample, and I like these guys. Yeah, SoilWorks LLC. They give some data that most soil samples don't. So I've fallen in love with their soil testing and all that, and just a great group of people. They're just down to earth, bunch of farmers that love helping people with their trees as well. So fantastic questions, Michael. I really appreciate that. And we are moving on, but yeah, humic acid. I wouldn't do a lot of actual backfill and amendments. What I would do is just treat the soil to give it a little healthier dose of microbes. You want to feed the microbes, and that humic acid is going to go a long ways with that. You can even do some seaweed extract to act as a rooting agent, and that'll help to jumpstart the roots a little bit, and some molasses to help feed the microbes as well, bacteria. And those guys will actually go to work and restructure the soil for you. If you've got a really compacted soil underneath those sidewalks, then you may even want to add available calcium. And by the way, SoilWorks LLC has some awesome stuff. Dormant. This is what I want. I think it's like $80 for a bag that'll last you probably a decade or more. So really, really great stuff. And I use that all the time on the clay here. Even though we do here in Houston, here's a misnomer. We live in Houston, right? We are technically built on oysters. And so we call it a calciferous soil. There's a lot of calcium down there. Here's the problem with calcium. It's really heavy and it sinks. And it binds to a lot of things very quickly. And so what it'll do, it'll sift down into the lower levels and it won't be available to your trees. I don't think can't post comments to some destinations. I got to fix that, Michael. I'll text that to you later. But hope that helps, man. And yeah, talk to me, man. Let's collaborate on some projects. I love that dude. He's a great guy. What? No way. Huh. Okay, this is nuts. So Lindsay Purcell, y'all don't know him. He's another RCA BCMA. This dude's an absolute legend in the industry. Okay, so let's read what the question is. Brittany's asking, I have a cedar in my backyard that was hit several times with an excavator on accident, of course. What caused damage to the bark? Now the light colored inner wood has this black fungus on it. I live in some county in Washington State. I'm wondering what the fungus is and can I treat it to save my tree? If it's dangerous to the tree, I do realize these branch bits could probably be cut back better. Thank you for your help. The branch pick is to help with identifying. Thank you. Awesome job posting. Very, very good questions and very good details. So yeah, that's not ideal. You do have these little tears that came down the bark. And so that's going to be harmful to the tree, but not necessarily a deal killer. It looks like you got a pretty healthy tree. So yeah, I agree with Lindsay's. He by the way, let me show you. What is it? Tree U. Lindsay Purcell. Yes. Who asked that? Yes, trees. Yeah, absolutely. Weeds. I stopped calling them weeds, and I started calling them the mechanics of the forest. Weeds absolutely can pull calcium up to the surface. Sometimes, if you get a really thick stalked weed, you can cut it open. You can see little white flecks in there, and that's actually calcium. It's pretty cool stuff. Oh, right on. Yeah, I'd love to help, man. Yeah, talk to me. Text me later when it's not 4th of July. But this is, by the way, for any of y'all that are aspiring arborists, this is a wonderful, wonderful program with Lindsay Purcell. I've been through it a handful of times, and it's a really great program. And it basically guarantee you that if you take the ISA exam and you took Lindsay's course on Tree U, the Certified Arborist Prep course, he is guaranteeing that you will pass. And there's some stipulations, of course, but man, it's so cool to see like us, some unbelievably good arborists out there. And hey, I'm not talking. That's why you can't hear me, homie. I was typing to Lindsay because this dude really is a legend. And y'all, it's really cool to see this because we're getting some of these just unreal, unbelievably good arborists out there that are commenting. Y'all have heard some from Shem Kendrick and from Kristen Hammond and Lindsay Purcell. Who did we see earlier? We saw another guy earlier. But a lot of these guys are some of the best in the world. And it's so cool to have a community that we're building like this, where you just get some unbelievably good arborists out there. And he's kind of like me. He's keep it natural. If the tree put it there, we got to have a better reason to take it off. Obviously, this is not ideal, but trees are actually built to seal wounds like that. They're designed to do so. So I hope that helps, Brittany. We're moving on. All right. Brenda's asking, good morning. I need some advice. What's causing this Bradford pear to split in the leaves, and can you fix it? Thanks so much. Oh, yeah. That's hilarious, Lindsay. Remove and replace with a more sustainable species that isn't invasive. Yeah, Bradford pears are technically invasive. They're not great. Very weak wood and invasive. Let me draw this out for y'all because this is something that is be passionate. And by the way, I've got Bradford pears that in Dallas they were 50 years old, and so it is possible to prune and maintain and keep them around, but they're really not the best tree to have. And so what happens is you get these branches that form, and we call them co-dominant branches. And unfortunately, that's basically the nature of how Bradford pears grow. And they have these really tight branch unions. And so what happens is, think of it like string cheese. The fibers are growing the same direction, little bit of pull, and it just rips right off. And so yeah, it's not good. Bradford pears, they're known to have problems like that. You can absolutely prune and keep them around, but it's artificial. It's not natural. And like Lindsay said, they are kind of invasive. So just a few things to consider. Asking over, do you have the equipment and certifications to spray trees? Yes, I do. So we got a little question that came in from Richard on the post, or on the Q&A 9. That's hilarious. So this is the 9th time we've done this, by the way. And I got here, it says number 8. So I'm sorry for lying to y'all. But so yes, we do have the equipment and certifications to spray trees all the way up to about 120 feet is how high our rigs will go. And yes, TDA certified, Board Certified Master Arborist. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to help. If you need help, hit us up on the web. Who's calling in? T. Scott. I don't need to talk to you. I need to talk to Lucas. And there's me. That's, like I said, that's about as tech savvy as I get. Oh, you can't see me here. So let me close this out. Yeah. That's about as tech savvy as I get, is use AI and robots to take away the background and put me on a white background and then put little things up there. So anyways, again, huge shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of this community. Y'all are awesome. Yeah. So this is a really great point that Michael's bringing up. He says, I like keeping trees if they have a stable branch union, even if it's invasive. Some clients have years, not decades, to enjoy their space, and I resist recommending removal unless it genuinely poses a risk. And Bradford BPs are not great though. I just scheduled 2 for removal at a kids center. They had a history of branch failure and limbs overhanging play space. Yeah, and that's the other thing is where's the tree located? Is if a tree falls in the forest, humble opinion, who cares? Let it fall in the forest. It's going to become food for other trees for the next decade or 10. And so it's not a big deal if they fall, as long as they don't cause damage. That's the key there. If you got a tree that's going to threaten you, your family, or anybody else, people are so much more valuable, despite what some of the hippies and freaks, most of the fruits and nuts out in California or whatever. Yes, nature is so important. Also, people are more important. Humble opinion. Y'all don't have to agree with it, but when I make my decisions, it's for the good of the people, not necessarily the tree, although that's an important factor as well. All right, an academic asks, do you find that many species of broadleaf grow out of cracks, margins, bases have found boundary walls after decades turn into trees? Ash here is right that way. Lots of specimen then have to be removed. Yes, absolutely. Nature is way better than man. So yes, all the time. In fact, there's a phenomenon in Chicagoland that where trees are growing in some of the abandoned buildings there, and essentially they're decaying the roofs from the tops down. They'll grow into the cracks in the roofs, and they'll basically break apart the concrete. Everything falls down a layer, and the process starts over again. So I read an article about that years ago. But yeah, absolutely. Trees are designed for survival, and they will do anything they can to survive. In fact, you can go out into the high deserts of Arizona and Nevada and all that. You can find trees that are 1,000 years old that have been doing just that. They've been growing deep into cracks of rocks and mountains, and they're just searching for any source of water they can find. And they've measured up to, I think, like a mile deep. Sometimes roots will grow. And that's not true. Maybe like 1,000 feet or something, but they'll grow hundreds of feet down to find water. Most of the time, though, they're going to be trying to create a blanket or a net on the top. So anyways, hope that helps. Another fantastic question, man. And Michael, I agree with you wholeheartedly there. If it's there and it's benefiting, providing value, yeah, let's plan for the future. And maybe consider that this Bradford pear or this Arizona ash or whatever, call it trash tree if you want. Hackberry, Chinese tallows are one here. Yeah, we don't want them to be invasive and spread in the forest, but if they're in your front yard and they're the only shade you got, yeah, keep them and plant something else while you plan on getting rid of that one later on. So I agree. Yeah, you may be there for 2 years in your home. So any shade's great. All right. So this sycamore was planted. Christine asks, sycamore was planted last fall. It slowly lost leaves and branches from the top down. Any chance of saving it? Thanks for your help. Richard, what's up, Richard? Yeah, he's a cool dude. I spent a lot of time. He went to my church, and I wound up. He got a major injury years and years and years ago, and I lived with him and kind of helped him recover a little bit. And he helped me out and getting me back on my feet as well. So, anyways, great dude, Richard. Thank you for commenting. And you're right. I think it was planted too deep. And here's a couple quick fixes you can do. This one. All right, y'all, and I am actually going to have to go. We got to go do some fireworks here pretty soon. So we're going to have to call it a little bit early and maybe schedule like Tuesday night doing some follow up, because I know we're like halfway through these. This is crazy, you guys. Thanks for the awesome. Sorry, yeah. We've been on this an hour and a half now. Yeah, hour and a half. That's awesome. Hour and 28 minutes and 17 seconds. All right. Hello. I'm located in North Texas. That's my old stomping grounds. We bought this house a month ago. These two trees, I don't know what type they are, have no leaves on top. Should I trim the top? Yes. You're going to have to get rid of that unalived tissue. Let me see. You got root flares buried. You got to expose those root flares for sure. And I'm going to do a video on that because I actually have a tree in my front yard that the builder planted. And as builders do, they planted it poorly. And so I got to get the root flares excavated. I've done some radial trenching on it, made a little video as I was doing such. But yeah, that tissue is unalived. And here's that video I made for you. You got some borers that are attacking it. That's normal on dead tissue like that. You've got some fungal pathogens that are attacking it. Yeah, that's you got a really stressed tree here, pal. Oh my goodness. I might cut your losses. It looks like you got some fungal pathogens attacking it too. Those root flares are buried. You got to get them exposed. And man, I'm sorry, but I'm wondering if you've got a tree that wouldn't be better just being gone. And my follow-up question, is that a new build community? It almost looks like a new build community. Yeah, you got some stupid tree rings there. That's pretty common from builders, and they're stupid. Sorry to be a little crass, y'all. I get emotional about these things. Yeah, I should have hired an arborist to plant it, not your builder. And Michael does some great works because he actually works with a lot of builders and helps them make good decisions like that. I've got a few developers as well, developers and builders that I work with. And that's one of my favorite things. Like, y'all, let's just plan this out properly and set standards that they have to follow so that we don't make these mistakes. We don't have these problems moving forward. So anyways, Ashley's asking, I'm hoping I have enough photos to follow the rules that were just posted as a reminder. Thank you, Ashley. That's awesome. I did take these before going out of town, so if not, I'll try again next week. I do not know the species. Looks like an ash to me. We just purchased the house a month ago, and the tree looked like this already. It is located in Greer, South Carolina, in the 20-year-old subdivision. I noticed the bug holes while mowing last week. Probably has been there longer. Yes, I think it's been going on for a while. To me, that is like spot on. Let's check out the close-ups. Is that an ash? Yeah, that's an ash tree. Oh, yeah, definitely an ash tree. I think you got emerald ash borer. I'm really sorry, but that is a done deal. I think you're let me see this. Hold on. Yes, has been confirmed in your area, including Greer, South Carolina. So you've probably got emerald ash borer there. And quite frankly, it's a lost cause. You're not going to be able to recover from that with that much damage. I think it was like 20 or 30%, and it's too far gone. There are some preventative treatments, but I'll be honest, does it make sense? It's a cost to benefit ratio thing. Yeah, Cameron's out saying, yeah. Sorry, Ashley, but I think you got a lost cause. All right, Barb was asking, Japanese beetles are destroying my fruit trees, as they do. We've used milky spore, but can't possibly cover our entire 9 acres and can't mitigate surrounding farms. And we have sprayed with neem oil. The branches are now covered with brown, lacy leaves. Do you have any suggestions to keep my trees alive? Last year, they unalived a wild plum, and I'm trying to save the rest of my wild plums, my cherries, and apples and peaches. Sprayed neem oil again and covered with netting. But do I just leave the trees and hope for better things next year, or do I do any pruning or other maintenance? I wouldn't prune them. Yeah, soapy water is great. Dawn soap, you would be shocked at how many things Dawn soap can address. We had tons of ticks and Japanese beetle on our farm in Pennsylvania. We got 10 chickens. There you go. I love that natural resource. Got 10. Sorry, that was probably loud in the mic. Got 10 chickens to free range, and they completely eradicated the ticks, the beetles, and slugs, and they gave her eggs to eat. Brilliant, Anne. That is a great creative way that farmers have been doing for generations, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Yeah, Dawn soap is the best one that I found. Dawn soap's great. You can use neem oil, spritz a little in there as well. That'll act as a fungicide and an insecticide as well. But I like the cheapest way to get a big sprayer and fill it with soapy water. Yep, Dawn is awesome. I've unalived so many things out there, and actually there's a really invasive one called the I'm drawing a blank on it, but anyways, that was what they found. The best solution was the spotted lanternfly. That's what it is. The best solution they found was actually Dawn soap. All the brilliant chemical companies out there, yeah, and the chickens, JK, yeah, absolutely, soap and chickens. Get you some soap and chickens there, Barb. I think that's going to be your best bet. Is if you can fence them off and keep the chickens in. If not, just make sure they got a nest, and they'll come back to home. And protection from critters. The birds of prey will come after them for sure. That's the only thing. Good morning. Well, it's evening now, Chandra. Where are you from? My mom has an oak tree near her home. Before Milton last year, she was told it looked healthy. Does she need to be worried about below picks? It looks like the woodpeckers are on it a lot. Oh, woodpeckers are no good. Woodpeckers actually mean borers. So if you've got woodpeckers, that means they're going after something. they're not just going and attacking your tree for fun. They're after food. And so the borers are typically what they're going after. So it's going back to the chicken reference, chicken and egg kind of scenario. I think Milton was across Florida. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Chandra, but I think Milton came right across Florida, and it did some damage. So I can see some of the storm damage and all that. That's going to leave your tree prone to other pathogens and problems. Most of the pests and bugs and fungus out there, even the arborist certified arborist study guide says that all of those are secondary pests. It always starts with some sort of stressor. And the guy that introduced me to this industry and really got me excited, he was a BCMA RCA as well. And he used to tell us, like, all these dumb arborists are looking up to see what's chewing on the tree. And it always starts in the roots. 95% of the time it starts in the roots. That's a bad impression, but y'all get the point. True Texas style. And yeah, I think you got a kind of a hazardous tree there, Chandra. Is riddled with holes. The second branch is riddled with holes. Yeah, Chandra, I would remove that tree ASAP. Live oaks are pretty well known for being really strong, even when they're damaged. But still, you don't want to risk it being that close to the house, unless you just don't love your mother. Sorry, that was rude. Yeah, I think that's too close to the house, and you've lost the top, which leaves those other limbs kind of prone to structural failure. And you got some beautiful elephant ears there. Those are cool plants. Y'all have, like, I think it's the most diverse horticulture in America is in Florida. I think Texas and California are close, but y'all by far beat us with so many different ecosystems. All right. Just curious why my comment is being declined here. I'm sorry, Cameron. It's not personal. Cameron, by the way, is another fellow arborist as well. He's a great guy, and thanks so much for your inputs. But he's saying EAB. That was that one with Ashley's post. So yeah, I agree. Emerald ash borer all the way. Cameron, we're working on really tweaking all the algorithms or whatever. Again, I'm not a tech guy. I got Lucas in my ear, my wife over there helping to keep things organized and all that. So we're working on it. Sorry for the problems there, Val, but we'll get it worked out one of these days. All right. Connor asks, hello all. I have a water oak in my yard that has root structure causing water to pond near the trunk, and I'm wondering what, if anything, can be done. Oh, yeah. Actually, let's go back to that because that's a good point. But there's a certain pain threshold that you got to be willing to tolerate. So Michael's making a really good point. He says the live oak will squat as it ages. Major reduction prunes are not ideal, but if the benefit of leaving part of the live oak is significant, even if ugly, it could be the stopgap while you plant another tree and get it growing a couple of years. I agree, actually. Yeah. And what he's talking about is we call it retrenchment is the word the industry is using. So let me see if I can draw this because this is a little more complicated, but it's a really good point. So when we look at ancient trees, what we're finding is a lot of times they'll start to go through periods of extreme stress and drought and things like that that'll really put a damper on the tree's health and vitality. And so what we're finding is these old trees have really extensive root systems. So they want to keep growing. In fact, the genetic potential of a tree's roots is 5 times the radius from the drip line to the trunk. So let's say that's 20 feet. Well, multiply that times 5. You've got the potential for those roots to be 100 feet out there. And honestly, they can keep going even still. And so what we're finding is these trees will start to, let's say they got branches here, they'll start to unalive some of the ends of these branches. And so oftentimes what we can do is we can kind of play God a little bit, and we can help the tree along and restore some of this interior canopy while the tree's unaliving on the ends. And so what you wind up with is he's calling it a squatty tree. I like that term. Sometimes us arborists get real clever in our, in our terminologies there. But essentially you've got a squatty tree. And so what he's saying is take this tree, reduce the height of it, make it a little ugly. Now you've created that ecosystem for those birds to come in and eat all the critters. Meanwhile, plant something else there. Now you've got a future. Maybe plant something else here too. I don't know. Just plant trees, y'all. Trees are good for the environment, turns out. And they're good for us human. Again, while lion's tailing is dumb, keeps the tree from its natural. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Great point. He's saying lion's tailing is dumb because here's the thing. If you've got that interior growth already, now when the tree starts retrenching and it starts unaliving these branches, Now you got something to prune it back to. So you've got a canopy that you can restore much more easily. And I think it was Dr. Ed Gilman. Let me see if I got that. Makes the point that if you've got, by the way, if you all want to spend $180, this is so worth it. If you want to learn more, especially you arborists out there, this is a phenomenal book, and it will teach you literally everything you need to know about trees. And Ed Gilman talks about, it's Dr. Ed Gilman out of University of Florida. Speaking of Florida, there's Chandra, right in your neck of the woods. So, but he talks about lion sealing a lot. And one of the main, not benefits, but things that it causes is you remove any of that interior growth that you can reduce it back to in case of emergency later on. So if you've got a limb growing over the house, man, I'm making a mess on this board, y'all. I might have to get the spray gun out here and clean it off real good. So let's say you got a limb over the house. That's a terrible house. You live in a shack, apparently. And you got a tree, and it's got a really big limb, and the limb starts to get a little sketchy, and we're worried about it breaking and falling and coming crashing down. What you can do is you can reduce the canopy height, and that leaves the tree able to restore that canopy while the tree recovers. Now you've taken off all the leverage, all that wind throw, those big wind cells on the end, and you've got a much more structurally sound tree. Doesn't mean you can keep it alive and up in the air, but it oftentimes is a great tool we can use to preserve the tree longer and essentially just artificially recreate that retrenchment process that trees in nature we're finding naturally go through. So let's do maybe 2 or 3 more of them, and then we're going to continue this. I'm going to set up a time maybe next Tuesday, and we'll go through the rest of these because I know we're at July 3rd and today, and we're only on July 1st. So we've gotten through 5 days worth of y'all's questions, but we just got a lot to go over tonight, y'all. And again, thank you so much for being here. So, all right, this is basswood. What is all the white at the base? The missing bark is infested with carpenter ants. Well, I'll be honest, Wayne, that's not a great picture to go off of. What you've got here are borer exit wounds, and those are essentially you had a borer insect in there. And so the carpenter ants, believe it or not, oh, shoot. No. Did I skip one? Well, we'll do this one. Oh, yeah, no, I did. You're right. Okay, let's do this one, and then we'll go back to that last one. All right, so you've got these borer exit wounds. Basically, those are tunnels that beetles or moths or wasps laid their eggs in, and then the young started to grow up, and they started to chew on the living tissue. The carpenter ants will then take advantage of that already damaged tissue, and they'll start growing and living in there as well. What they won't do is consume the living tissue. You don't have to worry about them causing further damage to your tree. Sometimes, you know, it can further ruin the structural integrity, but it's not going to damage the health of the tree per se. So what the white stuff is at the base, I was trying to see on that picture. I'm not really seeing it. And now my internet's going all funky too. All right. So, and what kind of tree is that too, Wayne? That's what I would want to know. You said beech tree? Beech tree, right? Oh, yeah, I get that. Yeah, the white stuff at the base. It looks like you got some kind of fungal pathogen growing on there. Also, you have lion's tail to this tree, so just stop doing that. That's no good for that tree, Wayne. You want to restore that interior canopy. That makes it so much stronger of a tree. And, man, y'all quit doing that. Lion's tailing is no good for trees. That is like the number one thing I see in my neighborhood, in all of Texas. I've done work in West Texas, East Texas, North Texas, now South Texas. And everywhere it's a problem because you get these landscapers that don't know what they're doing. They go in, they hack, chop, and slice. And guess where the easiest stuff to get to is? Right there in the middle. So they don't know structural pruning and how these things work. That's why it's so important. Don't hire your landscaper to do your trees. Even if it's just planting, there's little things that make a big difference that landscapers might not know. Most of your certified arborists are going to know, although I will caveat that with saying, even those guys, you got to vet. Let me see if I can find that video. I'm kind of rude sometimes when I come out with my videos. I kind of razz on some people, but it's how to choose the right arborist. And these are just 7 questions you can ask your arborist to kind of vet them, if you will. Just make sure they know what they're talking about. And I kind of go through each one and explain why you want to phrase it that way. And here's my AI generated tree hack there, those guys. So I'll drop this here for you. But Lion's tailing is no good. So important that you prune trees properly and focus on structural pruning, not just cleaning them up or whatever. You can't clean a tree, man. What are you going to do? Get a pressure washer? Hey, I love it. Okay, look at this. ISA Arborist is a low bar, but it's a bar that your tree practitioner needs to clear. Absolutely. That is the bare minimum. And I'll be honest, the arborist certification or the certified arborist test, one of the easiest tests I've ever taken from a practical standpoint. So the fact that somebody can pass the ISA arborist exam just tells me that they know how to memorize the answers. A lot of it is definitions. If you really want to get serious, a BCMA, a Board Certified Master Arborist like myself, not to toot my own horn, but like Lindsay Purcell, like Michael Gabrilzi, these guys are professionals and they hold some credentials that really differentiate. But the BCMA exam was one of the hardest tests I've ever taken because it's practical application. And the thing is each question has essentially what I thought to be two answers. One's right and one's righter. And so you really have to know what you're doing. So I agree with Michael. It's a pretty low bar, but it's a very important bar to clear. So if you've got an arborist, especially if they claim to be a consulting arborist, some guys here that run things in Houston. Oh, he didn't do enough. He's working on his RCA. He clarified that for me. Yeah, but you know enough, Michael. I've talked to you enough times. I think you could probably pass BCMA if you really wanted to. But RCA is a step ahead of BCMA even. So, yeah, look for RCA or BCMA. There's not a lot of us, honestly. There needs to be more. Come on, tree care industry, step it on up now. All right. So academic was asking for managing ash plantation die-offs. I like Sycamore for its scale as replacement. Alder to establish temporary groves because they grow fast and allow Sycamore to grow out of alder grove in time. Any other ideas? You know, in Ireland, I'm not really sure, to be honest. But you want to mix it up. You want really, really, really good variety. And you want to go by the 10-20-30 rule is no more than 10% of the same specific epithet, no more of this 20% of the same family and or genus rather, like oak, maple, ash, whatever. And 30% of the same family, or excuse me, like white oak versus red oak, and then family being like oak versus maple. And so that's going to be really important. High variety is going to be your key to the forest surviving. Because you see, like here in South Texas, we've got, or really in East Texas, we've got pine bark beetles, and over in California, same thing. Yes, I can, JK. Give me 1 second here. You're welcome, academic. But basically, so it's the 10-20-30% rule. So no more. I'm going to post this here. 10% specific epithet. Can't type. Live oak. Oh, yeah, my bad. 20% genus. So these are going to be your white oak versus your red oak. So live oaks would be in the white oak family. And then you've got 30% family. So that's going to be your oak versus your maples, ash, etc. Hope that helps, JK. But yeah, you want to mix it up. And I see this, like my neighborhood, monocultured. They got live oaks on every single front yard. Oh, yes. Okay, that's brilliant. You're very welcome, JK. All right. So treecouncil.ie, native Irish tree item, alder your soils are highly impacted by floodplains, watersheds. Make sure to understand the alluvial nature of the soil, drainage, flood condition when deciding how to reestablish as stand. Yeah. Hey, there you go. Love it, man. This is a great community. Hi, University of Kentucky seminars. Actually, I'm missing this business card. I just went and took a course through the University of Kentucky. We were at their campus anyways. And it was a tree and plant appraisal qualification. And Bill, the guy that ran it, he's just a stand-up dude, just a phenomenal human being. And man, he was a great guy to learn from. But yeah, they actually, the Kentucky Arborist Association runs a really tight ship, and they've got some great resources on their website. But yeah, Tree Council is great as well. Here in Houston, or here in Texas, we've got the AgriLife Extension. let me post this because this is just a little blog that I came up with, and I wanted to have an easy resource for you guys to find out your local. This is here in the United States, so sorry, Ireland, I can't help you there. But the basically the AgriLife extension or the agriculture extensions are wonderful resources. So these are the kind of the central hubs for agriculture in your specific state. And so you know, if you're here in the United States, click on that, find your local ag extension, and that'll be a good resource. You want to get to know these guys, especially if you have problems with your trees there. And so check it out. That's right on our website. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and close up shop today. Lucas, if you can do me a huge favor and remind me where we're at. Oh, wait. No, I'm not. I got to get to Connor's post because we did skip that. Connor, I'm so sorry, man. Let me do this one last one, and then we'll call it a night so y'all can go enjoy the 4th of July with your families. But he's asking what can be done, if anything, as I assume it's not good for the tree. In his water oak, he's got water pooling at the base. And so I know what he's talking about. They do that. So you've got a water oak here, and the roots will grow, and you'll get these little pockets here as the roots grow and kind of cross a little bit. You get these little pockets that'll fill up with water. It's not uncommon, but it's really not a big deal. What's happening, bourbon, that's funny. Sipping from Kentucky juice right now. I don't know. That's hilarious, Michael. You're cracking me up, dude. We'll have to do that sometime soon. Houston Urban Forestry Council. I missed that meeting, by the way. And yeah, it's not great, but it's not bad. Generally, that water is not going to be the kind of pathogens that are going to attack your tree. Now, you do have some unalived tissue here, and so yeah, it's not ideal, but really you just want to leave it alone. Don't fill it with concrete. Do not ever fill your tree with concrete, you guys. Concrete is a static, unmoving, undynamic material. And so what will happen is as the tree moves, the concrete won't. And so you'll get little fractures inside of the tree. It'll also damage and make the tree more likely to split and fall over. Another third said to cut it down. Another third said ask an arborist. So here I am. What's up, Connor? Glad to have you, man. Any info is greatly appreciated. Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about it. And I will say this, water oaks are not great compartmentalizers. So I might be worried about that little root there. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little self-promotion here and say, hey, let's get on a Zoom chat and a digital arborist consultation, and maybe we can take a look at it a little more closely, because it really depends. You do have some desiccation on that, some necrosis, some dying, unaliving on that one root. So that is going to affect the structure of the tree. And so I'd love to take a look at it and see if we do need to take it down, or if it's something that can be preserved. And really the main thing I'm going to be looking at is A, health, and B, structure. And we'll see if it's a good fit for you. Water oaks aren't the longest lives, 50, 70 years typically, and then they start to have really big problems. And by that point, they've grown really, really big and can cause serious damage. So hope that helps, Connor. Thanks for being our last victim. And guys, I just want to thank all of y'all for being a part of this group again. We're having some great conversation over here. And who's filling trees with concrete? Yeah, a lot of people actually. That was I can't tell you how many chains I've destroyed, and man, it's detrimental to me, because that's a $35 chain as I'm cutting down your tree. It's to run into that is like, that's a ruined day at the job site. But that used to be what they recommended. There are a lot of people that actually fill trees with concrete, or did, and I still see it today. In fact, I had a guy in Rocheron, Texas, south of Houston, 250-year-old trees, easy, or maybe more. We don't know. We can't know. And he filled them with concrete, and that was a recommendation 1 year ago from a guy. And it's like, no, why? And meanwhile, he's got this tri-dominant tree that is structurally unsound, and it's going to be moving and shaking and twisting and turning. Long bar or short bar user, depends. The biggest bar I've run was a 48-inch bar, and that's good for up to 8-foot diameter trees, by the way, for those of you that don't know. But I actually like a shorter bar, generally speaking. For my decent size saw, I like a 32-inch because that way it works for me height-wise. I don't have to bend down and ruin my back. But I also prefer skip tooth on that same 32-inch saw, so a little bit different. But preferably 20-inch. If I can get away with a 20-inch or less, I'm doing better. And honestly, you don't go by the bar size because you can mix that up. But the what you go by is the engine size, and there are some saws that are the size of dirt bikes. And here I am rambling again when I told you I'll bite. But guys, what a great conversation. Thank you all for being here, literally from all over the world. And we've got some great people here with us and great suggestions, great comments. And thanks for just a great conversation. And hopefully we answered y'all's questions and got you pointed in the right direction. And again, we'll schedule another one for probably Tuesday of next week and go on and finish out the rest of this so we don't get too far behind, because I'm sure it's getting crazy. We got a lot of more coverage to go over and great questions to go over. And again, thank y'all for being a part of this community and a part of this group. And here we go. Awesome time. Cheers, my friend. Yes, sir. And shoot me a text later on. Happy 4th of July to all of you guys. Even if you're not here in the States, you know, it's good to be free. And I know we live in a world that is a lot freer than I think it used to be. So thanks again for being here, you guys. And we will see you next time. Have a great evening.